Good morning, traders. So we're still using the Bill Williams theory and looking at the Aussie, the South African top 40. Now, yeah, what can I say? It's there is no direction on this asset. There is, it is extremely volatile, but it's volatile on pretty much on the daily basis. If you look at what this was all about, it's almost 1,400, well, 1,500 point move from the top to the bottom. Okay, we are still sort of blasting through levels and not really lining up with levels at this stage. And this is very typical of sort of holiday mode on the Aussie. So every year during the December holiday period, this is kind of what happens. So it's my view that the guys that aren't really back in the office yet, probably only going to be back next week or maybe even from tomorrow, since the school's open tomorrow. So there's still a lot of manipulation happening in here. Now, I suppose what we could argue at the moment is we've got sort of 1, 2, 3 touches here. So there's my first touch, second touch, third touch. We also could argue that we have sort of either a shoulder there or a shoulder here and a head and a shoulder. It's also possible, but it is so messy, I don't even want to try and make those guesses. So the key thing here is this 200 EMA on the weekly. Okay, now look at this oscillator, which is not quite in the danger zone for the bulls, but it's getting there on the weekly. And this 200 EMA is clearly being defended. Okay, now that is my weekly level there. It lines up with my 200 EMA. So it is being defended pretty well, but it is still very messy. I mean, look at these tails, top and bottom, lots of barbed wire, lots of indecision. Nobody really knows what they want to do. Are we going up? We're going down? We're going sideways? What's the case? So I think if we just start moving down to the time frames, you'll see so yeah, I think you can see the 4-hour 200 EMA as well. So we up, down, and then we close below it. Okay, we do have, is that a bit of divergence there? Not really. Well, yes it is, actually. We can take it from there. Yeah, so you've got a low, then you've got a higher low here. And then you've got a low, well, it's not quite, you call it a double bottom. So there is a bit of divergence here. Nothing really that stands out. I think the other thing that we need to do is just get a Fibonacci onto this just to see where we are. 72.4. Now that is a fairly good entry for a long. Okay, let's get rid of the noise. Not convinced though, so let's just get down to the hour. I mean, that's a pretty solid downward trend, that. Okay. Okay, so 10 cent is down 1% at the moment. The Nasdaq was up 1% yesterday, and Nasdaq futures is sort of up 0.3% right now. So there you see a little bit of I'm kind of debating with myself whether I want to just stay out of this and wait for something more concrete to happen. But I suppose this was a decent downtrend if you'd managed to get in on it. And I think I'll have a look at it on the lower time frames. We'll see what we could have done. So we are on a trend line here, a diagonal trend line on the hour. We're also on the 1 hour 200 EMA. So that is, how do I put it? That is a fairly interesting level. Okay. However, we do have a gap. There's my gap. Okay, so here's my daily gap. So this gap is sitting at 46748. Okay, so I would just drop that slightly to test this previous swing low, which lines up with this bar here. Okay, it has been tested before, so that will give me my zone that I want to get in long. Okay, so let's go to the half hour. Maybe we see something more here. I'm just going to remove that. So yeah, so I think what I'm expecting is more downside, but this downside is probably going to be short-lived. So somewhere in this zone between 46,748 and 46,670, buyers are going to step in. Okay, the buyers step in here, then that would be an area for me to look for a long. So I think we want to see this gap close anyway. We don't want to leave gaps open. So we want to see this gap close, see this move down to the downside some more. And then what we'll do is we'll pick up a long entry somewhere in this zone here. Okay, that's kind of my view of this at the moment. Now I just want to get down to 12 minutes just to have a look. I did look at this yesterday, but the whole thing about this little start, pullback, and rally, there wasn't really anything apart from this engulfing bar here that indicated we needed to look for a short. There were no levels, there was nothing. Okay, so yeah, so it depends which time frame you're looking at. So if you're looking at the 12 minutes, obviously the trend has changed, and we went sideways and then continued to the downside. So the trend definitely has changed. Oscillator is sort of grouping back to the upside for another move to the downside, and I would expect us to come and at least come and close these gaps, possibly even come and test. We don't have they're not inside bars yet, so definitely come and test these inside bars here. So that's kind of my view on this at the moment. So some more downside. If you are short, I don't think there's a reason to get out at the moment. So I suspect you are more than likely going to get another 350 to 400 point downside. At which point I would be looking for a long entry. Okay. So yeah, so that's kind of my view on this moment, and I'm also of the opinion that you don't hold this overnight because you just don't know what's going on. There's so much volatility at the moment. So yeah, I think that's kind of my view at the moment. If we do get a sort of a long entry from the bottom here, just be very careful because it may just come up and test the break of the 1 hour 200 EMA, or come and test the 1 hour alligator and then move to the downside. But when the alligator is doing this sort of up, down, crossing over, it's not a very reliable strategy to follow. And to be honest with you, even the ichimoku will be the same. Very difficult to trade this thing on an hour or a 3 hour or a 4 hour, because there's just there's no continuity. Okay, so these moving average strategies, when we're going sideways like this, are very, very difficult to trade. It doesn't matter which one you look at. If I look at my 926 moving average, if we come to the hour, you'll see it's very difficult to trade when you've got all these crossovers all the time. So one of the ways to do it is to pretty much trade on a daily basis, become a proper day trader, and just trade sort of the 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and you'll use these strategies on those time frames. You can see this moving average strategy. You can see we've got a breakover, we've got a breakout, we've got a retest there, and then we trade at the downside. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. And the other way of doing it is you can use the Bill Williams as well. It's just a little bit slower, so especially on your lower time frame. So yeah, that's Yeah, it's difficult. So unless you're really well versed in price action and reading the bars, and you've got the time to sit and watch the 5 or sort of a 5 minute, 6 minute chart, there's no ways that you're going to get these swings. Okay, so yeah, I think be patient on this one. It's going to resolve itself sometime, and but we're also sort of in limbo with what's going on in the geopolitical noise with China and the US. So, if that trade war doesn't resolve itself, then we're definitely going to head to the downside with some serious downside coming. And, we'll be able to get on those. Until then, I think my advice on the Aussie is either trade it on a daily basis, okay? And you're going to have days like this where it just goes sideways for an entire day. Okay, then you have days where it's going to be very volatile. You move 1,000 points in a day. So, either trade it on a daily basis. Not all of us have got time for that. I mean, I definitely don't have time to sit and watch this thing through the day. So I'd rather leave it, move on to a different instrument that is trending, and pick that up. Okay. So anyway, that's my view on the Aussies today. It probably doesn't help you much, but I'm of the opinion keep your money in your pocket if it's not very clear. But do watch this gap close, this one over here. Okay, so pay attention to this 46,730, 46,700 area. That pretty nice area for a long. And if we can stay above these fractals here, then even better. Okay, but what you could also expect is sort of a move to the upside, come and test the 12 minutes 200 EMA and get a short from a higher position. That's also possible. Okay, so anyway, guys, that's level to watch, and you're going to have to wait for price action. Make sure that you see some kind of a reversal pattern that forms, and I'd want it forming on the 12 or 15 minute charts before I start looking at an entry. Okay, so yep, that's my view on this today, and keep those stops tight, whatever you do, and enjoy your day. I'll catch up with you guys later. Cheers for now.